So, unless you were completely off social media or not watching even the news around where I live, then you may not know that the rapture happened. The rapture was supposed to happen on the 23rd or the 24th of this month, September 2025. And I am going to give you a little bit of a teaching about what the rapture is and how this belief that has come up in religion isn't so far off from what we believe in spirituality or in ascension into new earth. I will bring to you some parallel teachings and some ideas that you can think about on how these two ideas are actually very similar, and we maybe just got the interpretation of what a rapture is completely wrong within the religious context. So if you're interested in that, stay and hang out with me for a little bit. Welcome to the Soul Alignment Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Angie, and I'm inviting you to explore the depths of self-sabotage, limiting mindsets, and the beliefs that hinder our progress in life. Through intuitive messages I receive from my spirit team, I share profound insights to help you live authentically and break free from these limitations. Join me now as we uncover all the keys to living your best life. Welcome back. My name is Angie, and I'm your Soul Alignment Mentor, bringing you intuitive messages from my spirit team to help you align with your most authentic and highest self. So if you're just finding me and you don't know anything about me at all, here's a little bit of background. I grew up in a pretty difficult home. My parents divorced when I was very little. I did not grow up in religion, but around age 16, I did start going to church because there was something within me that I just knew there's more to life. And I was looking for that in places I thought I would find the answer. And so, of course, here in the Western world, living in Kansas, I end up in the church. And I spent from age 16 to about 35, 36 in the church setting, fully committed to the path of serving God, being a Christian, everything that I could possibly do. I read my Bible every day. I prayed every day. I did missions trips overseas. I taught Bible studies. I taught Sunday school. I was on the women's ministry. I helped youth group. I was there and I was in the church volunteering every time they needed something or if there was an opportunity to do something. My heart and my life was dedicated to my faith and what I was doing for God. Now, how did I end up where I am now? That's a whole nother story that I'm not going to get into at this point, but I want to give you that background because I have an understanding of what it's like to be both in religion and out of religion. I started deconstructing from my religious beliefs back in 2016 when I had a very profound spiritual experience in my backyard where I heard an audible voice talk to me and tell me I was doing it wrong. And when that happened, my entire life flashed before my eyes. I saw my job, the things I've done in my life. I saw all the times I was in church, how I was striving to be good enough for God, everything that I had done up until that point flashed before my eyes. And I realized this isn't it. There's got to be more to life than trying really hard to be perfect and only doing what other people want me to do. Now, that didn't unfold overnight. That was a uphill battle that I began to walk that day of reclaiming my truth, reclaiming my life, and seeking a higher understanding and comprehension of God and of myself and this world that we live in. over time, as I grew, healed, dove into doing my own healing work with inner child healing, chakra healing, working on remembering all my spiritual gifts that I came into this earth with, I started to unfold these understandings of who I was, who God was, who we all are, and the comprehension that I began to see of the Bible even began to shift and change. And so I share that with you because I want you to know that if you are watching this and you're still in religion, I understand. I was there and I have full love and compassion for where you are. And I would never try to force you to believe what I believe or to think the way I think, because that is not love. Love is not based on condition or the idea that you have to be like me or I have to be like you. Love in its purest agape form is what we were taught within religion, is unconditional, without flaw, without obligation, and freedom to be your full, most authentic self, which is my goal in this life, is for myself to be my most authentic self, but also to help my clients to find their true, most authentic self as well. So how does this all play into the rapture? And how is that paralleling to my beliefs now of ascension and awakening of the collective? Well, we're going to start with the Bible, since that is what I knew and know well, and I studied. I even went to a Bible college to get a degree in Bible. I want to point out some parallels of what we believe on the side of ascension and coming into a new earth and what the Bible says about a new earth as well. So let's start out with some verses from the Bible. I have these written down just so that I can reference them better. And so the first verse I'm going to bring to our awareness is Isaiah 65:17. And so this says, "See, I will create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind." So this verse does kind of sound like there's going to be this brand new earth, new heaven created, that the former things are not going to be remembered, nor will they come to mind. So let me give you the perspective from the religious side, then the perspective from the ascended spiritual connection side. So from the religious side of things, we in the religion comprehension was about this earth is going to be destroyed, completely done and gone away with. All the Christians are going to be raptured. Those who are not going to be raptured are going to be left behind. There's going to be 7 years of tribulation. It's going to be really bad on earth. And then the earth is just going to be destroyed and a new earth created. So that's kind of the interpretation that has come about within the religious comprehension, that they use these kind of verses to create in their ego mind. So instead of looking at these as like parables of teachings that aren't necessarily to be taken literal, as like a brand new earth is going to be created, these are kind of teachings through a metaphoric language to tell us about what is going to happen in the future. So that is just one of the verses that the religious, those who in religion might use. From the ascended side of things, from ascension and from spiritual awakening and the consciousness shift that's happening on the earth, we could look at it as if the former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind. Now, when I have tapped into my spirit team and gotten visions about ascension and what is actually happening with the ascension into a new earth, it's not that a new earth is completely going to be created and birthed. It's that the earth we live on's frequency is shifting and changing, which is allowing the consciousness of humanity to shift and change as well, which is also creating this timeline split. So if you have watched any of my other formal videos about parallel lives and ascension and awakening, we are actually seeing that split taking place. And some of us are like, why are you guys doing this? And then they're like, why are you doing this? So there's not any comprehension of like relation on either side at this point. It's like us against them. So there's one side that is wanting to bring more unity, peace, love to the earth, and the other side that is focusing more on control and keeping things the way they were, or even going back to how they were. And so the way I see it, those who are in this collective conscious awakening that are tapping into what we would call Christ-like energy or Christ comprehension and consciousness, we are coming into the understanding of what truth and love, compassion, love, unity, all these things are as we shift into what we call the age of Aquarius. Now, those moving into what we call New Earth or Ascension, we're moving further and further and further away from the way things have been. And eventually what's going to happen is we're going to be so far removed from what we would call 3D, because we're moving into a 5D consciousness, that we won't even know what's happening in the 3D. We won't know about the violence or the shame or the things that are happening that we're seeing now, because this split is pulling apart the 3D and 5D. And when you ascend into the 5D, you no longer are a part of the 3D. Therefore, you don't have even a remembrance of it. So you could look at it that way. It also, and I'm hearing Spirit talk about how when we do leave our human form and our life here on earth and we go back to spirit, we can remember things that happened on earth, but we don't necessarily relate to them because we don't feel the same frequency of pain when we're in our spirit. So the difference between actually physically leaving your human life and like going through death and ascension is the fact that in ascension, you are leaving behind beliefs and ways of being a human. And in death, you're completely leaving the human life at all, like altogether. So that's the difference of like what you might consider ascension into back into the spirit realm and ascension into 5D frequency and new earth. And the new earth is going to be so very different from the earth that we have been comprehending and understanding up until this point, that we won't even it won't even come to our minds. Those of us that will be in 5D or those who will be in the future won't even have a comprehension of how 3D is, because it will be so different. So if you can think about your grandchildren, their grandchildren, and beyond that, those who move into come back to be a human and are in 5D frequency, they're not even going to know about what happened in 3D. Like it's not going to be something they remember. It's almost like a brand new start, a brand new reset for humanity to be in a new frequency and to continue to ascend in that frequency, if that makes sense. Here's another verse that we can look at. Isaiah 66, verse 22. As the new heavens and the new earth, so as the new heavens and the new earth that I will make will endure before me, declares the Lord, so will your name and descendants endure. So this is another verse that religion might take out of context of their preaching and what they're teaching is what needs to continue. However, what is really the truth is Christ Jesus, the Christ consciousness that he brought into the earth at that time, is what he is saying is going to be the enduring message. The descendants, those who are awakening to Christ consciousness, are the ones that are going to be pulling forward this frequency into the new earth, the higher consciousness. And so instead of being like this preaching message within this church setting, and you must be this way, and if you don't follow the rules and all that, this is your consequence, is all fear-based. It's actually love-based when you go into Christ consciousness teaching of what Jesus brought. And that is the descendants of the new earth. That's who is going to be shifting into their higher consciousness, because they are following the path of love, compassion, and unity that Christ taught us at that time. Another verse is 2 Peter 3:13, and it says, "But in keeping with his promise, we are looking forward to a new heaven and a new earth where righteousness dwells." So again, there's two interpretations of this: the religious interpretation, the awakened, ascended interpretation. So again, this, if you were to talk to somebody in religion, they're going to say that the rapture is going to happen, destruction upon earth is going to happen, the 7 years of tribulation, which, you guys, I think we're already in the 7 years of tribulation. Look around us. I think, honestly, we're probably within the third year of it, or the fourth year. And because I keep hearing Spirit say you have another like 3 to 5 years left of this. And which to us is like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? But you guys, things really started to shift in 2020 when COVID came. And I think that we have been moving forward through some type of a tribulation since then that is moving us to a higher frequency, because I continue to get messages recently from my spirit team that some type of big consciousness shift is going to be taking place in 2027. So if you look at that timeline, around 2020 is when something started to shift. And now moving into 2026, 2027, the consciousness shift is kind of going to continue to increase at that time. And we are in that. And there's going to be a big shift and change around 2027. So they haven't totally revealed to me what that is going to be, but they're saying that there's going to be a distinct knowing that something has shifted around that time, and our consciousness might be ready to shift a little bit more into a 5D. So looking at this verse from the ascended comprehension, a higher consciousness, it is definitely talking about keeping the teachings and the promises that Christ consciousness brought in as far as love, and that where we're going into a 5D frequency is where righteousness dwells, where we're no longer at war with one another. We're no longer looking at like to take from our fellow humans. We're here to serve and live in unity, which right now as humans, we can't really comprehend that. Like I had a vision last week about New Earth. And I remember when I got it, it was like about 4 a.m. in the morning. I woke up with this vision and it was magical. It was so perfect. And I remember getting panicky because I was like, I can't do that. I cannot maintain that type of perfection. Like it kind of freaked me out. And then I heard Spirit say, that is why you are going through this ascension, is to prepare you to be in that energy. Because if you were to go from where you are now and to jump in that type of energy, you couldn't maintain it. And the way that Spirit showed me as an example to teach this was a child always wants to return back to a mother or their parents, even if the parents are not healthy for them. Now we're moving out of that in this timeline that we're in, but I've had foster children before, and these foster kids that I've had, it didn't matter how bad their parents were, they still always wanted to have contact with them. So that is kind of how we are as just humans. Like there's something about the frequency, the low vibration frequency that draws us in. There's something about drama and criticism and manipulation and fear and evil that keep pulling us back into that frequency. But the more we shift in our consciousness, the less we want to engage with it. And so that's where we're going into the 5D. Another verse that I will share is Revelation 21:1. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, and for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. So religion is going to look at this and say, well, the earth is going to be destroyed. Well, we're already seeing some of that taking place, to be honest, like, not to make light of it, but we're seeing a lot of destruction on earth right now. And we're just starting to see the beginning of this shift on earth of letting go of old to build new. And the way Spirit always helps me to comprehend this is when we have a forest fire, sometimes forest fires bring positive change to the forest because new growth can come. And so, me living in the Midwest, one of the things that happens, like on a farm, is a farmer will burn their pasture at a certain part of the season because it will grow back better after it has been basically destroyed. So, what we can see happening on earth is the earth rebirthing itself, is letting go of old to rebirth itself. This is the same exact thing that humans do when they go on their healing journey. We go into this really deep pain, we feel the pain, we cry a lot, we feel this shifting in our body, and then over time we kind of awaken to this new truth of who we are. And that is the comprehension that we have. So we literally become brand new humans, new people, new perspectives, new energy as we heal and ascend and awaken. And that is what is happening. So the old is passed away, the old me is passed away, and the new has come. Now, this talks about uh, the no longer having any sea. Well, there are parts of the earth that will no longer be as it continues to rebirth and ascend and awaken. So that is the renewal of creation alongside of the renewal of humanity. I'm going to dive into some more of this, but I'm going to make a whole nother video about it just so I can keep these short and easy to follow. But if you want to follow along with these teachings, I will make this our part 1, and I'll create a part 2 where we can continue to dive into the parallels of how religion looks at New Earth and the rapture and awakening, and how spirituality and the ascended, those who are ascending into New Earth, look at it. So the parallel ways of looking at this. So if that is something you're interested in, still come and hang out with me. And if you're looking for support at all, just to share with you, I do have my Healer Circle, my Ascension membership, and I would love for you to come join us. If you're looking for one-on-one work, I also have one-on-one openings as well. So come check out my website, check out my groups, my communities, and if you're looking for healing support, I have all kinds of options from hypnotherapy to past life clearings to working on opening up your spiritual gifts. So come hang out with me. I'd love to meet you. Until we meet again, I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.